Well, hello, everyone. I am AJ Ootman. I am your account manager, and today I am your host. Today, we will highlight and demo the newest features of our August 2022 release. As always, you can find the full release information on our documentation site. The most significant features of the August release is the updated Allocation Contents tab, which will impact everyone who circulates resources. Additionally, the August release features improvements to the Greenlighting app and facilities modules. Let's get started with the improvements to our Contents tab. At my checkout center, we use the timeline scheduler view to start our checkouts. All right, which you can see it when I hit create new checkout. Now, others may bypass the timeline scheduler and go straight to the allocation detail, also called the shopping cart, which you can now see displayed on screen. I'm curious which of you on the call first default to the timeline scheduler. If you default first to timeline scheduler when you begin an allocation, could you please put a thumbs up in chat? So right when you hit new checkout, if you go to the timeline scheduler, could you put a thumbs up in chat? All right, great. Thank you, Romeo. Or if you default to shopping cart mode or this allocation detail you see on my screen, could you put a heart in chat? Just kind of wanting to gauge who defaults to which mode. Okay, so I see a couple thumbs up for timeline scheduler. Are there any people that default to shopping cart? And you can place a heart in chat if you do. Okay, great. Max says recently switched to shopping cart. Great. Okay, thumbs up. Great. Thank you, Kathy. Great. Well, if you prefer starting at timeline scheduler when you begin an allocation, you may appreciate some of the changes, but whatever mode you presently use, after I compare some of the benefits of each view, I think you'll appreciate that as of our August release, you can now get the benefits of both modes in one view. I'm going to first show why I like the timeline scheduler by returning there and adding my patron to start my checkout. All right, so I'm going to add in my patron, Samuel Powers. Now, our checkout center prefers the timeline scheduler because of this catalog view and its resource type view. This view allows us to create allocations with the exact name of the item, and it allows us to run our operations without a barcode scanner. I also like that if looking for items by home location, I can quickly switch to that view simply by clicking by home location. This view is helpful for looking for my items by room rather than category. I'm going to select my room Tilly Hall 210. And from here, select a USB cable. Another key feature to the timeline and catalog is the view availability function. Let's say I want to check out my Mac laptop's availability prior to reserving one. I'll head back to my resource type tree view by selecting by resource type. And I'm now going to go down to my laptops and select my Mac laptops. All right. And now by clicking on Mac laptops, I can simply hit view availability to see which of these resources are available. It looks like a few of them are reserved, which we can see in blue, and a couple others are checked out, which we can see in yellow. But there's still a fair amount of availability. So I'm going to reserve this resource by type simply by double clicking it. Another feature of the timeline is to add unavailable resources to the turndown report, which tracks which resources are unavailable at the requested time. I can simply right-click this resource type and select Add to Turndown if it wasn't available and I wanted to report on that. For these reasons and features, our center uses the timeline scheduler to start an allocation. To continue building this checkout, I'll click Commit, which takes me to the shopping cart mode. This shopping cart mode is also known as the allocation detail. From here, as my center operators often make allocation notes, I'm going to select the Other Information tab to make an allocation note. So I'll say ensure that the USB cable is placed in the laptop bag. And I will scroll down and save. As I place the allocation note, you'll notice that this information is now visible on the left primary panel of the allocation. This is an improvement in the August release. I also like the ability to review what policies are affecting this allocation in my Policies tab. I also appreciate being able to quickly view all of the activity, so that way I can see what occurred prior to this reservation, prior to confirming this checkout, as well as to see any operator that has been involved in the allocation or patron. So you're probably wondering about now, what is different? This all looks the same. What is new in our August release? Well, let me start with this ongoing need to do more with less. And in this case, what if we added the great features of the timeline scheduler in the allocation detail screen, so that these features are available in this one screen, reducing the additional need to confirm, offering one primary method to build your allocations? Well, as of our August 2022 release, we've moved the key features of the timeline view right into our Contents tab. All right, so here is the Contents tab that you were likely used to, that is our old view. Now, if I select the beaker in the right corner, you can see our updated view. In this August release, we've left the existing Contents tab and provided the ability to test or run in what we're calling experimental mode. When you enable this mode simply by clicking the speaker, the new Contents tab will remain until the user logs off or disables this view by clicking the beaker. With this view, you still have the ability to scan or type in a resource ID or barcode in the Add Resources field. We have also included the camera feature. If you select this camera feature, it will connect to the camera on your device you're using so that you can use it as a barcode scanner. Additionally, we have the same autocomplete fields to add resources by type or to autocomplete your resources. All right. Great. And additionally, in these boxes, if you start typing in a resource or even simply hit enter, it will bring up the targeted find page just like you're used to. Additionally, it creates a simpler, cleaner view. We can see that by returning to our old view. All right. I'll go back to our new view. Now that we're on this new experimental mode, let's review these icons, and we'll start with the catalog's right icon, this little caret icon. By clicking the caret, it's going to open up our resource type catalog. I can scroll down and see that full resource type tree just like before. And I'm going to select my Sony camera kits from here because in addition to this tree, we now have help icons that will give you important alerts about your resources. If I highlight over the icons, they'll display these alerts, and I can see that the eye icon lists any condition notes. In this case, it alerts that the lens is cracked. The suitcase icon will indicate if this item is in a kit, and when I highlight over it, it will show the individual components that sit within this kit. I can also see that my Sony camera kit number 3 has an icon with an exclamation mark within a triangle. This indicates that this item is presently offline. Additionally, if you prefer to search by home location, that is still available in the catalog view. At the top of the catalog, I can select the globe icon to go to searching by home location. And I can easily revert to the resource type tree by selecting the book icon. If items aren't available when requested, I can still add them to my turn down report, as this feature that is found in the timeline is also available here. For example, if I go to my cameras and I scroll down to my Pentax film, I can right click it and could select add to turn downs. Additionally, I can still use that view availability option and select view availability to view this resource type's availability. For clients using our reservation by resource type module, the accept button at the top is where resources can be assigned by type. By changing our action from add to accept, we are no longer adding new items, but are now converting the resources reserved by type to an ID. These tabs are only clickable when there are items that meet that criteria. Add is only available when the allocation is in edit mode, except when RRT items need an ID. I can click accept, all right, as I earlier added my Mac laptop by type, and I'm going to assign it now an ID. I'll type in my barcode, enter. And now the Mac laptop changed from being reserved by RRT to the ID Mac laptop 003. You'll also notice that the accept button is now grayed. And I cannot click on it as there is no action. This is the same as the return button. It will be clickable once items are checked out. I'll go ahead and check out these items. As mentioned briefly, the left-hand pane now includes allocation nodes, so operators can quickly see that additional information. I can see the note I made earlier about my USB cable. Other summary items previously featured here have moved under their related menu. For example, auto circulate and aggregate value now sit under other information. Now, to complete this checkout, I'll return my resources. Just like before, I can do this from my Contents tab and select Return, which is now in blue because it is ready to return, and scan in my barcodes. So I'll scan mine in or type them in. And of course, you can still use all of the other functions of the allocation detail screen by selecting items to return or simply hitting Return All. Now, if you have a preference on beeps or audio alerts to indicate actions, you can turn those on or off. This sound icon is now a new feature, so if you have a preference for the audio feedback or not, you can toggle it on or off. right? These improvements to the Contents tab are all available in the August 2022 release. We strongly encourage you to upgrade as soon as it is convenient for your team. In December 2022, the next release, the new Contents tab will replace the existing Contents tab and will no longer be an experimental mode option. Additionally, the December release will be the last release to feature the timeline scheduler. As of the April 2022 release, the Contents tab will be the primary method to add resources to the allocation. The homepage quick allocation feature will remain. While we're in the main application, let's highlight a few other improvements. Searching has improved. Specifically, autocomplete fields now recognize custom unique identifiers. In previous versions of WebCheckout, you could enter a name, unique ID, or barcode to see an autocomplete list for the various searches. Now, these fields also recognize custom unique ID. To show this, I'm going to start by entering a custom unique ID for a patron in the Find People quick search. I'll go People, and then in this quick search, I'm just going to start by typing the name of this release, August 2022. Once I get to that third character, I see that Zach Morris pops up, which seems interesting. I'm going to select Zach Morris. All right. And if I scroll down, you'll see the reason it popped up because he has a custom unique ID that is the August 2022 ID. Also, Find Pages now preserve the last page of search results. For example, if I'm looking for a particular list of resources, so I'll go Resources, Find Resources. And let's say as I'm looking through this list of resources, I jump to the fourth page of my resources. Great. Now, let's imagine that someone comes to my desk while I'm working on updating my resources, and I have to do a last-minute checkout. I'll select the checkout icon, right? And then I complete this checkout, but want to go right back to where I left off in my resources search pane. I can go Resources, Find Resources. And I see that the search has retained the last page I was on. It retained page 4. All right. Now, while I'm on this page, I do want to move my Mac laptop 001. And I'm wanting it to sit in another center. So I'm going to click on this Mac laptop 001. Right. Now, previously, we could update this Mac's laptop's home location in its inventory tab. While that's still available, we can also move the home location when moving a resource to a new checkout center, thus creating a shortcut for moving resources that are also assigned a home location. So you don't have to go to its inventory tab first and move it. I'll showcase this now by selecting Move This Resource. I'm going to move it from the AJ Training Center to my WebCo Production Center. And also, while in this one page, going to change out its home location from the Smith Lab to Tilly Hall. And I'll hit Continue. We can see the result of this change and that both the checkout center changed as well as this also moved its home location. Again, creating a new shortcut that's going to save you time. Now let's move into our improvements to WebCheckout's newest module, Greenlighting. Greenlighting opens circulation to a project and allows institutions to plan, gather, and manage events and course-related projects all in WebCheckout. If you have Greenlighting and you have the Manage Projects and Manage Project Templates operator capability, you can access this application by selecting your Apps menu and then selecting the Greenlighting app. I already have mine opened, so I'll go there now. From the Greenlighting home screen, you'll notice the project ID column, or the unique identifier of a given project. Previously, operators could enter a project ID in the application or via import. The downside to this was keeping project IDs consistent. As we can see from our front page, Grad1 Project 1 has a unique ID that isn't consistent with the other projects. This is because I haven't updated my project ID value to match the naming conventions of the rest of my projects. Before this release, they were inconsistent and required operators to remember their preferred naming convention when creating the unique ID. In our current release and new features, you don't have to think about the project ID anymore. Let's go to our settings and see how it works. I'll select my settings gear icon. I can now define the prefix and sequence combination, which will automatically generate unique IDs when creating new entities in the app. The first box will determine the prefix, and the second, the sequence character following the prefix. The prefix is the fixed value, and the sequence is the counter. I can set this for the entities available in Greenlighting, such as project type, template, template role, project, and project role. I want my project ID to now include the year and month of when it was created. Timestamp values are available based on the time the unique ID was generated. The project prefix is already set to proj, and I can adjust this to include a hyphen and then place curly brace keys around the value or to tell WebCheckout to pull in that time value, right? So I'm going to add a curly brace key. Now keep in mind that values are case sensitive and repeat the value for how you want it to display. For example, if you want year to have all 4 digits, such as 2022, then include 4 capital Ys, close it with the other curly brace key. Then I'm going to add another hyphen. And I also want to include my months and include 2 digits for the month. So I'm going to go capital MM, curly brace key, and then include another hyphen to separate it from the sequence. Let's now look at the sequence. The sequence is the counter pattern, and the number included here determines the starting value. It will use the next value for the first record created. Normally, I'd be fine with my projects counting up from 1, but I want to have all my projects show at least 2 digits or more. So I'm going to enter the number of digits here. I'm going to add another 0 to indicate 2 digits and hit the green check to save. Now, if I select a new blank project, we can see the result of this change. The updated project ID is displayed here. I can still edit or change it. However, now I eliminate the need to manually input this, reducing inconsistencies. While the unique IDs generate similarly, I want to specifically note the parent field that's in brackets on the template role and on the project role. The brackets indicate that this is a fixed value and adds the parent unique ID as the prefix. then whatever numerical value as set in the sequence to make it unique. If I return to a project, I can see the value of the parent pre-populate when adding a role. Let's go to my Potions podcast and select Add Role. I can now see that the role ID lists that project ID as well as the sequence value. I'll go ahead and add this role. So I'll add in my director and allow this director to both be able to edit and circulate resources assigned to this project. And I'm going to type in the patron name, who will be my director. So I'll place in Harry Potter and hit submit. In addition to these unique ID updates, allocations can retroactively be added to projects. In the Greenlighting app, click Add Allocation and add checkouts and reservations to this project. This should help the transition for those that are currently tracking projects using custom properties or the class event title. I'll enter a CKID for this. And select OK. And now under this project, if I scroll down, I not only see that director I just created, but I can also see this new allocation that I added to the project. We've also included search functionality to our project's homepage. So let me go back to my project's homepage. Great. So we've added search terms and result columns similar to the ones that you're used to in the operator interface. Because I just added an allocation, I want to see this in my search results or in my result columns. And I want to remove this description column header because I'm not presently using it for my reporting. So I'll select the result column drop-down caret. All right. And now I'm going to select the description to remove it from my included columns. And I'm going to add in to my included columns allocations and then hit find. Great, and now we can see the result of that change where now I have the allocations listed as a part of the report. Now you can always export this page by hitting export as, and then export it as a CSV or an importable document that will include all of your importable headers. Right? Now these find pages are also available in our facilities module. Facilities is an application used to track physical keys and was implemented by Franklin and Marshall. For those of you who have seen the previous version of Facilities, you'll notice that the August release features an updated interface, similar to what we reviewed in Greenlighting. On the left-hand pane are the icons and menus from our original interface. And on the main page is a find screen for those related menus. Just like in Greenlighting and in WebCheckout, I can now add search terms and result columns. For this search, I want to see which of my hooks have been assigned to my location, Black Lab Suite 200. So in the location search term, I'm going to type in Black Labs 200, find. And now my result narrows to the hooks that are assigned to this location. This functionality is available throughout the application to search through any of the property sheets that are here. For example, if I go to my people search, right, and hit find, I can scroll down through this find page and I now see that patron 31 or Luke Danes has out a key that is set to hook 1001 with a sequence of 1. Now, this ability to both export reports as well as be able to see and export an exact key was a key part of the specifications that Franklin and Marshall wanted, and it is now included in facilities. This concludes our August 2022 new features overview. As a reminder, we encourage you to upgrade as soon as it is convenient to provide feedback on the new contents tab. Please review our documentation for the complete August 2022 release notes. If you're an on-premises client, please review our upgrade requirements prior to scheduling. And as always, email support@webcheckout.net to schedule your upgrade. At this time, we're now going to open up the floor for discussion. All right, so are there any questions on any of the new features?
So it doesn't look like we got any questions during your fantastic presentation, AJ. But
Well, it was just so thorough.
Yeah, it was. Do folks have any other questions? You can feel free to use your chat, unmute your mic.
Is anyone excited about it all being in one page? Oh, great. Looks like we have a user say looking forward to upgrading. That is awesome. We love to hear that. Anytime someone upgrades, I get excited. So that's great news. Just so that we all are able to get the most use out of our system. Okay. Great. Yeah, thank you. The new scan view. Great.
It looks like we got one question in the chat about upgrading from version July 2021. They're just asking to confirm if they need to reconfigure their, I'm assuming that's your integration files before you upgrade. So folks on older versions, so July 2021, you will need to update those files prior to upgrading to this new release.
Yeah, such a great question. And yes, as Brittany mentioned, you will want to upgrade your integration files prior to upgrading. I will know if you need assistance with that, please email support@webcheckout.net. We would be happy to help. It's not like a huge change, just we do have column headers that have updated. But for those that have made the switch, the feedback I've gotten is, oh, like that was pretty pain-free. And then they see that in our new advanced import, which is what we're calling it, there's a lot more functionality available. So if you do need to make significant changes in your data, that new advanced import just makes the process so much easier. So if you do need assistance with that, please shoot us an email.
I just want to clarify though for everyone, this is not a new requirement. So this advanced files, the integration, excuse me, the integration files have not changed since November 2021. And several of you, even on prior versions to November 21, so also we could double check, but you probably know better. Many of you may already be on the advanced import file for integration, but you may be on an older version of WebCheckout because we did support both file formats for quite some time. But so for those who have already made the jump to the advanced imports, there's no changes to your integration file. It's those that who have not already made that change to the advanced imports. I just wanted to clarify there. No new requirements for integration or import files.
Thank you, Jeannie.
And looking in the chat, it looks like we got one more question about greenlighting. So it looks like folks love the addition of the new add fields in Greenlighting, and they're asking if this feature will be available within the individual project screens.
That's such a great question. Mac, do you mind, and feel free to even unmute yourself, just clarifying when you say add fields, what you're talking about there? I am just right now on a project, so you can see some of the fields we can add.
Yep, I believe, yep, what Mac is referring to, since we've been in contact about this, the ability to add properties to this roles and allocation section. So that feature has been submitted for consideration for future releases of Greenlighting or of WebCheckout, but it's not available. You cannot add additional fields to roles or allocations within the project.
Great, thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Mac, for that question. Awesome, it looks like Mark says that they upgraded 2 weeks ago. That's fantastic. Any other questions about the application today? I know I'm excited about the new contents tab especially, but of course, many of these others. I know Franklin and Marshall was excited about the changes to reporting and facilities. So I know for those of you that circulate keys, that's going to really help. All right, well, if there are no other questions, we may end just a little bit early today. Let's see. Looks like there's a question in chat. Sorry, communication was cut off. We are still configuring files in some centers. Can we wait for the update? This is a great question in terms of waiting to upgrade. You absolutely are, you can wait, you're not forced to upgrade. However, we do just encourage you to upgrade, as soon as is convenient for your team. So once you're able to schedule a little bit of downtime and make the upgrade, we do encourage that. As Jeannie mentioned, there's no change to the import files, but if you are on versions older than our November 2021, if you're on an old import file, you may need to update those. So if you're looking to upgrade, just email support@webcheckout.net. And we, of course, can answer any questions to assist your team to make it as soon as possible. But the short answer is you're not forced to. Great question. All right, any other questions today?
I'm not seeing any other questions.
Great. All right, well, we do just appreciate everybody's time on the call today, making the time to see these new features. Please look for our email following up. It'll include the recording from this call. And as always, feel free to email support@webcheckout.net if you have questions. All right, thank you all so much for joining today.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, AJ. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.